with the lesser known text of Saint author Swami Tulsidas, which talks about 8 different types of sankat or problems that Hanumanji removes. So I'll try and see. I don't know if it will come by 30th, but I'll try and bring it for the first.
Brilliant. Is it English?
Yeah. The text itself is like Hanuman Chalisa. It's in that Saudi language. But this is a commentary by Swami Swarupananda of the meaning of that text and the deeper significance of that. I'll bring that forward.
But this one, Tulsidas ji says, if you chant this one, all the sankat will go away.
Yeah. But as they say, there are lots of compositions. So this is called Hanuman Ashtakam. Another one, Hanuman Chalisa is the top of that popularity chart. So the sankat motion is usually.
Yes, they are. We should do Hanuman Chalisa.
Okay, we can do that.
I think tomorrow they're doing it. 30th they're doing Chalisas.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is the
January the 1st as well.
First, 30th, we can also do it on the first. Yeah, Hanuman Chalisa.
Can you check whether it's
I've been
coming?
telling everyone, Lord Hanuman's birthday, come. Gandhi's sister from Brisbane's landed on 24th. We're coming to your house on the 30th. I'm like, come. I said, I need to come. I was like, I'm not sure if I can come for that. Maybe I'll come for an hour.
Yeah. Everybody now knows who's coming to your house. It's on YouTube. Okay, let's start from those two. sada bhajo re.
Rama Nama Tarakam sada bhajo re.
Janaki manoharam sada bhajo re.
Janaki manoharam sada bhajo re.
Maruti samsevitam sada japo re.
Maruti samsevitam sada japo re.
Rama nama tarakam sada bhajo 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 re.
Sada bhajo re.
Sada bhajo re.
Sada japo re.
Sada japo re.
Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Jai Sitaram. So, Bhagavan has thousands of namas that we know from Vishnu Sahasranama. There is one particular verse, Sumukhaya Namaha, Subrataya Namaha, Sumukha, Subrata, Sukshma, and it goes on. So, Subrata meaning somebody who practices good vratas. So, what is the vrata that possibly that Bhagavan can practice? It is the vrata is all up to us humans to practice, possibly devas to practice, and all other beings, not Bhagavan himself. But here looks like even Bhagavan has a certain vratam that he practices because it is given in the Vishnu Sahasranama. And in the Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashyan, the explanation which was done by Saint Adi Shankara, he explains what is the suvrata that Bhagavan practices. And if we look at Ramayana, we see that he has been practicing a lot of such vratas himself, such as Matruvakya Paripalanam, Pitruvakya Paripalanam, Satyam, Ahimsa, Paropakaram, so on and so on and so forth. But the vrata that he has kept so close to himself, which he considers as a Vihita Dharmam. Vihita Dharmam is something that we are supposed to do, and it's not optional, it is mandatory. We are supposed to do, and if we don't do that, it is considered to be a dosham. So Bhagavan, he is considering a certain vratam to be his Vihita Dharmam, and he is practicing not because it is a Vihita Dharmam for himself. It is so very close to him, it is something that defines him. There are many attributes that defines Bhagavan, such as he is Sarva Shakta, he is the central, he is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, this, that and everything. But on top of it, there is one particular lakshanam, there is one particular attribute that defines him, which brings him closer to all of us, which is Sarva Sharanya. He wants to take everybody to himself. So the vrata that he practices, which Adi Shankara defines as suvrata here is Sharanagata Paripalana. So whoever comes closer to him and says that they seek refuge in him, he protects them, he accepts them. So that is given as one of the lakshanas, and that is very clearly seen in many aspects of Ramayana. So that is where the Ramayana, the entire story of Ramayana itself is seen as a Sharanagati Shastram, a Sharanagati Tattvam, as we have seen, as we have discussed this in various our earlier classes. Every other sargam, every other kandam of Sri Ramayana has Sharanagati somewhere or other. And if we look at these examples, these in Balakandam, we can see that the Devas go and approach Bhagavan and they do a Sharanagati, saying that we are unable to tolerate the troubles of these Asuras. And then he gives them the Abhayam and he says that I am going to now incarnate as Rama. So there is a Sharanagati that we see in Balakandam. In Ayodhya Kandam, similarly, there is a Sharanagati performed by Bharata to Rama, where he says, he surrenders completely unto Rama and says, you have to come back and accept the throne once again. And unlike Balakandam, where Bhagavan, he immediately bestows he gives away the promise that he will come incarnate and protect the Devas and all other beings, the humans, rishis and everybody from the maladies of Asuras. Here in Ayodhya Kandam, that is not seen to be the case after all. Rama does not accept that immediately. Why? Because there are two possibilities where a certain Sharanagati will not bring you to the fruition immediately. One, it is supposed to be seen as if the Sharanagata himself is approaching with what we say as a Manda Vishwasa, which is a very partial sort of a faith on the protector. If he is not 100% convinced, he is just making that as some sort of a lip service. That is seen as a Manda Vishwasam, in which case also he gets protected. Only that he gets protected in a time that he really matures up to become a real seeker. In this case, we can't say the same on Bharata. Bharata indeed had been surrendering himself with full submission. But Rama had a certain constraint, which is the Pitruvakya Paripalana. So he was unable to, immediately give away what Bharata had asked for. And that is where he gives away his Padukas. And due to not being able to fulfill the requirement or the demand of Bharata, he goes into his hut crying, which all we discussed in our Ayodhya Kandam. Rudam Kutim Swam Pravivesha Ramaha, meaning he goes into the hut, leaving everybody behind outside, with his eyes all welled up. If we look at the Kishkinda Kandam, the Sharanagati done by the Rishis is very famous. All the Maharishis of the Dandakaranya, they do their surrender, they do their submission to Bhagavan, Rama, seeking protection from the Rakshasas or seeking his grace, being the Bhagavan. Both Artha Prapatti as well as a typical Prapanna Lakshana, both are discussed in the Aranya Kanda. In Kishkinda Kanda, the Sharanagati works out in reverse, where rather than Sugriva approaching Rama, Rama approaches Sugriva as if he is seeking Sugriva's protection. So why is that happening here after all? Because verse after verse, each and every other area, if you look at what Rama has to explain about or describe about Sugriva, he says that I am seeking him, I am seeking his protection. That is so because when Bhagavan comes, protects people, protects somebody, he seeks out for them. That is what is being said. So long as that person has the qualification, if he's practicing so much of a discipline, if he's so very steadfast, even if he does not do the Sharanagati, Bhagavan does the Sharanagati back on him. That is just some sort of a facade. What is actually happening is he comes in as the protector. Now here in case of Sugriva, is he really a person of such a steadfastness? Was he having that level of faith? It is quite to the contrary, where we see that Sugriva himself was doubting Rama's strengths. He was questioning it. He was saying, you may not be as strong as Vali. He was asking him to prove his strengths. So how can you possibly say that he showed all the lakshanas of a Sharanagata? What is being said over here is, he had the Hanumat Sambandha, which is, he had an Acharya by his side, which is the Hanumat Prasada, which really gave him all the qualifications that is needed of a typical Sharanagata. So that sort of a Sharanagati is discussed in the Kishkinda Kandam. In the Sundara Kandam, we would have discussed in the earlier classes the Kaka Sharanagati. The Kakasura does his Sharanagati back to Rama after having committed all his sins on Sita. The Sharanagati done by all the Rakshasis to Sita is also very famous. These are the Sharanagata, the Sharanagatis that is discussed in Sundara Kandam. And in Yuddha Kandam, the famous Sharanagati is of course the Vibhishan Sharanagati, which is the topic of discussion for us today. So this entire Ramayanam itself is seen as a Sharanagati Shastram, and this, if discussed, if listened to, if spoken about, if chanted, if read, if it is a part of our lives in some form or the other, it is considered to be taking us to the path of Sharanagati in its own way. So this is the Mahatmyam that is given about Ramayana. That is on more of an introductory note here. Now, taking a more closer look at the Vibhishana Sharanagati, the Sharanagati itself has certain attributes. What exactly is a Sharanagati? That itself is being described in our Shastras. And what are those qualifications? Maybe we can take a very quick look at it and then we can get into the story part of it, because these introductions are quite essential for us to put things in the right perspective before we enter into the story. The Lakshanas given for the Sharanagati here are, they call it as, there are 6 Lakshanas. Shadvida Lakshana, which is Anukulya Sankalpaha. I'll just list it out and then we'll have a quick discussion about each of them and see how they are relevant in the Vibhishana Sharanagati. Anukulya Sankalpaha, Pratikulya Varjanaha, Rakshishyati Vishwasam, Gotruptya Varanam, Atmanikshepam and Karpanyam. Now what are each of these? A Sharanagata, when he approaches his protector, he has to do every other thing as per the will of the protector. That is the Anukulya Sankalpa. So if there is a Prapanna who reaches out to somebody, who reaches out to the Bhagavan and completely submits himself up to, he will not be a Sharanagata at all so long as he is practicing things that will not be to the liking of the Bhagavan. If he is lying, if he is practicing wrong deeds, if he is indulging in a dharma and then he goes back to God and says that I am surrendering myself up to you, that would never be treated, because all these practices, all these dharmic values are being preached by Bhagavan himself. So long as one does not practice them, they will not be considered to be, they cannot be Sharanagata. So Anukulya Sankalpam, I do something that is to the liking of Bhagavan. I do something not because I want to do it, not because I fear not doing it. I do that more so because if I do that, he will be happy. If I do not do that, he will not be. If I do something contrary to that, he will be unhappy. That is the Anukulya Sankalpa. Pratikulya Varjanam is anything that is to his disadvantage, anything that is to his dislike will be completely abandoned. This is more so to say, this is just the other side of the coin of Anukulya Sankalpa. Rakshishyati Vishwasam, which is a complete faith in the fact that he is going to be protected. If I go seek a refuge with somebody with not 100% conviction that he is strong enough to protect me, then that has absolutely no meaning, because I am approaching somebody without a full trust. So that's just a lip service. That's, in other words, nothing short of a lie. So Rakshishyati Vishwasaha is a complete blind faith on the protector. Gotruptya Varanam, which is, this is more on the qualification of the protector. He should be the one who deserves this type of a trust. And Atmanikshepam is, with all these, you finally go and physically submit yourself up to him. Karpanyam is the modesty, humility, with which you run your life after doing the Sharanagati. These are the 6 Lakshanas that are described. And if we look at Vibhishana Sharanagati, this is one of the very, very, very few Sharanagatis that we get to see across all our Puranas, where all these Shad Lakshanas are actually fitting. There are various other Sharanagatis that we get to see. Kaka Sharanagati is one example, Draupadi Sharanagati is another example, Gajendra Sharanagati that he does. Gajendra Sharanagati is done more so because he was in a danger. He was in a danger and he then shouts for help. Draupadi, she was in a danger. Kaka Sharanagati, he had done, the Kakasura had committed a certain sin and those sins were chasing him. And then he does the Sharanagati. Here is a case where Vibhishana, he clearly sees what is right, what is wrong. He tries explaining what is wrong. And then he wants to side with the Dharma. He sees Rama as the embodiment of Dharma. And he wants to do everything that is to the liking of Rama on the grounds that he sides with Dharma. Anukulya Sankalpa. And the moment he realizes that his relatives, his kith and kin and relatives are not on the side of Dharma, he tries to give them up. Pratikulya Varjana. And everything that Rama does not like, which is the adharma, he tries to preach them against it when he talks to Rama. And Rakshishyati Vishwasaha, did he have a trust on Rama that he would be able to protect him? Absolutely yes, because when the whole world, when I say the world, it's like the top 7, bottom 7, all the 14 worlds, everybody dwelling in these worlds were fearing Ravana. They were fearing Ravana so much so that they were just silent, they were just mum. When Sita was abducted, when Rama was seeking help, nobody opened their mouth to utter a single word to tell Rama what exactly happened because of the fear that they had for Ravana. Such is the prowess of Ravana, and despite that, Vibhishana goes against it. He swims against this tide to reach out to Rama, all for the trust that he has on Rama, which is the Rakshishyati Vishwasaha. And does Rama have really, does he really have that attitude? Does he really have that care for Vibhishana? Indeed, because again and again we are going to be discussing in the forthcoming sessions of Yuddhakandam, in every other episode of challenge which Rama faces, there is going to be a Nagapasha attack on Rama, there is going to be a Brahmastra attack, there are going to be multiple challenges where Rama is face to face with a grave danger. The first thing that strikes his mind is, will I be able to fulfill the promise that I made to Vibhishana? Vibhishana should do well. Vibhishana should do well. That is he doesn't think of Lakshmana's safety, he doesn't think of his own safety, he doesn't think of reclaiming Sita, he doesn't think of going back to Ayodhya. The first thing that comes to his mind is, I should somehow make Vibhishana the king of Lanka. That should never go unfulfilled. That alone keeps coming back in his mind again and again and again. That we are going to all discuss now. So such is the care that Rama shows back on Vibhishana, Gotrupta Varna, Atmanikshepam, where Vibhishana comes and falls on the feet of Rama completely, complete surrender, and Karpanya, which is the humility, where he says, he spreads his hand, I don't have anything anymore with me. Whatever that I do, whatever that is for me, good, bad, anything, that is all unto your disposal. So all these Shad Lakshanas are seen in the Vibhishana Sharanagati, which is where it becomes the epitome, the essence, the saram of Ramayana in itself. Ramayana itself is seen as a Sharanagati Shastram, and within that Sharanagati, the Vibhishana Sharanagati is considered to be the ruler, the king of all these Sharanagatis, and that is the level to which the Vibhishana Sharanagati as an episode has been elevated within Ramayana by all our Purvacharyas, and that is going to essentially be the content which we will discuss today. And with that introduction given, we will get into the story now. So what we discussed last week was about the Rama, Lakshmana, along with the entire Sena of Sugriva, the Vanara Sena. They are taking a march towards the shore from Kishkinda, and they have reached the shore. Now, we have discussed this story last week, so we don't have to repeat that. But in the meanwhile, I came across a beautiful shloka written by one Ramabhadra Dikshita. He has written lot many stotras on Rama, such as Rama Chapastava, Rama Banastava, Rama Karnarasayani, Rama Turnirastava. There are a series of stotras written by him, and he is a Mahakavi, and one of the shlokas that he has written is on this particular episode, which I didn't want to miss bringing it to this forum as well. Let me read it out and then I'll give a quick explanation of it, and then we'll proceed with this. Utplutya vrajatam sputabhruputikam hunkaramatanvatam balahagrani vidhunvatam kila kila kolahalam kurvatam yodhanam aravinda kesara rucham madhyeta madhyeti me Chetaschapashili mukho jvalakaram bhojam raghunam prabhum. What this means is, all these monkeys are marching, all the Vanaras are marching one after the other. They are on a rush to the shore. Nobody wants any delay. And Rama is mounted on Hanuman, Lakshmana is mounted on Angada, Sugriva, they are all marching towards. And these Vanaras, they are marching fast in a certain rhythm. And one of the Vanara, he just wants to turn back and take a glimpse of Rama. He wants to ensure that Rama is looking at him. He wants to check if Rama is looking at him. But when he does that, the moment he sees Rama, he is so awestruck at the beauty and the valor and the grace of Rama that he is sort of slowing down. When he slows down, it is disturbing the march, it is disturbing the rhythm. So the Vanara who is coming behind, he is getting angry. He says, he is making that noise of a monkey, and he is pushing him forward. He is taking his own tail and he is sort of whipping him. And then he says, okay, you just move aside, let me go to the front. He goes to the front, and after a while, that guy, he turns back and he takes a look at Rama, and he gets into the same behavior. This guy then he then pushes it forward. So this is sort of creating a very, very pleasant commotion all across the board. And Rama is now looking at all these. And as this was going on, in this sea of Vanaras, if we look at any of these Vanaras, those Vanaras are having, if you look at the face of those Vanaras, it is sort of in a very pinkish kind of a color. Those vanaras, invariably they have a pinkish color, and their body is sort of in a with those very pinkish faces. Their body is slightly sort of green and goldenish in color, and their tails are golangulas. Golangulas are black-tailed monkeys. If you look at it, it exactly looks, each vanara looks like a lotus with a pinkish face, all the petals, the lotus petals, and their body, which is sort of gold and green in sort of a mixture. It looks like those big leaves, and the tail, they look like the stem. And in the midst of this big, huge takakam, which is filled with all these lotuses, Rama is moving like a Divakara. Rama is moving like a sun. So Ramavadri Dikshita, he utters this and says that my eyes are searching for this Rama in this sea of lotuses. So that is, I just didn't want to miss this shloka being brought to this forum. And thus they reach the shore, and finally they have camped. They have to now figure out how to cross the sea. Now Valmiki now turns the thing towards Lanka, where Ravana, obviously with his spy network, has figured out that something big is happening here, and there are these lot of the Vanara Sena is making its way. They have already reached out to the Rishyamukha Parvata. They have reached out to the Rishyamukha Parvata. Sorry, Mahendra Parvata. Rishyamukha Parvata is the Kishkinda one. They have reached out to the Mahendra Parvata. Now he has called upon a meeting with all his councils. He wants to discuss, he is putting across a point. He says that what happened a few days ago is totally unprecedented. There was one monkey which somehow intruded into our well-fortified, well-protected Lanka. It broke our defenses, it killed our vital commanders, it killed thousands of soldiers. It also made contacts with Sita, and finally came face to face with me, and it gave me a warning, and off it went. We couldn't do anything about it. And all that we had to do was to rebuild Lanka after the damages left behind by that monkey. Now I hear that there is a huge army of millions of such monkeys of equal prowess who has almost touched the shores on the other side. It will not be long before they make their way to Lanka. And I wanted to take your counsel. I wanted to see what we are going to be doing about it. Let me be very clear. Sita is not going anywhere. I am going to keep Sita. What is your plan of action for this? Now, these Rakshasas, this is the high power council. So he has only the high body officials. The top officials are there. The Kumbhas, Nikumbhas, the Mahodaras, Mahaparshvas, Prahastas, Indrajit, Atikayas, Trishiras, all these people are there. And they are saying, Maharaja, your powers know no bound. You have won over Varuna. You have won over Kubera. You got the Pushpaka Vimana from Kubera. You defeated Bhogavati. You won over the Naga world. And when Varuna was supported by Shiva, despite that, you won over Shiva with your bhakti, and you won over Kubera with your powers. And not just that, maybe it was because of the Asuras being more powerful than Devas and all that, but even within the Asura brotherhood, you conquered all the Asuras. He names multiple Asuras and he says, you have won over all your Asuras. And look at your ministry here. Look at Indrajit. Indrajit had performed his Maheshwara Yajna, with which he acquired such a huge power that he himself single-handedly could go and win over Indra. Now there is a human who has somehow herded a bunch of monkeys, and you really want to be worried about all these? I mean, what happened to the confidence that you had on us? To which Ravana sort of says that, yeah, I was confident once upon a time, but then there came a monkey which played a havoc. So my confidence is slowly waning out. So This sort of angers Prahasta, it angers various of the Rakshasas, and they all start. Anger as in, how can they dare get angry in front of Ravana? No, they are just trying to please Ravana. They all want to try to, sing to the tune of Ravana, make him happy and all. One after the other, they start saying, you ever worry, Maharaja, you just sit back, relax, drink and live happily. What I will do, I will go and kill Rama. Simple. Go, get rid of the head of the snake. The entire thing is gone. Then someone else, Durmukha, there is another Rakshasa, he gets up and he starts saying something from his side, that let's forget Rama and Lakshmana, let's go kill Sugriva. Because the moment Sugriva is killed, the entire Vanar Sena will never abide by a human. In order for you to control monkeys, you need a monkey king. Let's get rid of that king. Then Vajradamshra, he stands up and says, forget Rama Lakshmana, forget Sugriva. My anger is all on this bloody Hanuman. I had a beautiful garden which he destroyed, but I'm going to go get rid of him to begin with. Everybody starts making their own claims of their strength, what they are going to do, this, that, and everybody, they start following suit, one after the other. Kumbha, Nikumba, this guy. Nikumba says, guys, just chill. You sit here. I will single-handedly go kill Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva, everybody, and I'll come back. So until then, you can just sit back and relax. Everybody start trying to, make their presence felt in front of Ravana, and they are pulling out their respective weapons, that axes or patakatis, this, that, and all. They are just putting it into the air and they are trying to shout something. And there is a din, there is a pandemonium, there is a clamor. It reaches its crescendo, and finally, it took a while for that all to sort of settle down. Then finally, a certain voice comes up. Vibhishana. Vibhishana, he stands up with a folded hand, because it's a court. It's a court of the high power council. It's a council meeting here. He says, let us first of all understand why have we landed on this situation to begin with. You are all talking about Dandaniti. Why did we have to come to such a situation that we have to handle a Dandaniti in the first place? Apyupayaistribhistate yorthah praptum na shakyate tasya vikrama kalamstan yuktan yahurmanishina. Meaning, as per the political sciences, we are supposed to follow the 4-step procedure. Sama, Dhana, Bheda, Danda. The Dandaniti comes last. What has to basically start off with is Samam, meaning get into a compromise, get into a negotiation. Dhanam, get into an adjustment. You give something, you take something. Bhedam, if something is still not working out after you do the second strategy, you try to weaken the enemy by creating some sort of a split in his camp. And if that still is not working out, if he is still not weakened enough and he wants to still wage a war, then finally we take the weapon to our hands. So this has to be the typical procedure here. But let us first of all try to understand, why is it that we have landed over here? Have we done the right thing? He then turns to Ravana. He says, Maharaja, brother, ever since you brought in Sita here, you have not been happy. You have not been peaceful. You have feared. You have convened this particular Mantra Lochana Council meeting. When is the last time that you have convened this type of a meeting? You have won over Bhogavati, you have won over all these people we are talking about, the big Asuras and Devas that you have conquered. When you went on a war with them, did you ever convene this type of a meeting? But now you have convened it. Does that itself not imply that something is going wrong at your end? The right is not by your side, Ravana. You have to give back Sita. Ever since you brought Sita here, and first of all, how did you bring Sita here? Did you bring Sita by ripping her away from Rama? No. You played a trick. You sent a decoy. You got Rama to go out of the ashrama. That itself says that somewhere you do have this fear that you will not be able to take Rama head on. So why this at all? Why do you want to get into this type of a venomous, this Agni Pariksha? Let us give back Sita. Let us give back Sita for God's sake before Rama's shaft comes and tears us apart. Before the Vanara Sena comes and rips us apart. Because if that is not happening, Our doom is a certainty. We are all going to be reduced to ashes for sure. Before that happens, before it is too late, give up your anger, give up your ego. Tyajasva kopam sukha dharma nashanam bhajasva dharmam pratikirti vardhanam prasida jivema saputra bandhavam Pradiyatam Dasharataya Maithili. Tyajasva kopam. Give up your anger. Sukha dharma nashanam. It is going to take away your sukha, your dharma, everything. Bhajasva dharmam. Try to stand by the dharma. And prasida jivema saputra bandhavaha. You will be able to live happily ever after with all your kula, gotra, your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, all your relatives, all your riches. It will not go anywhere so long as you stick by the dharma. Surrender back Sita and put yourself at the mercy of Rama. The moment he says that, there were few Rakshasas who started nodding their head, which Ravana takes note of, and immediately he sort of alerts himself to say, okay, he is trying to now bring in a different thing, and he is going to weaken my argument here. Immediately he dismisses the assembly. He says, okay, the session is adjourned, we reconvene later. Then, like Vibhishana, he is unable to, he hasn't got any answer yet. So he then thinks, perhaps I brought up a certain point to Ravana in front of everybody. I should not be doing this, because Vibhishana is also the brother of Ravana. He has a certain liberty as a brother, and he then decides to go meet Ravana in solitude when he is in his private chambers. So he goes over to the Bhavana of Ravana, and he then tries to talk this sense over to him. So he enters the Bhavana. Just as he is entering the Bhavana, here again Valmiki all talks of Vibhishana, how he looks. He looks like a sun which is emerging out of the clouds. He is all there to preach the sense to Ravana. And he says, when he sees that even there in the private chambers, Ravana is still sitting with some ministers, he is discussing some stuff over there. And he sort of, when he sees Lakshmana, he says, okay, come sit. He just shows his he shows his eyes to come take a seat, and then he says, what is the business? What is the order of business, and why do you want to, why are you seeking my audience and all? Then Vibhishana tries to explain things. Look, my brother, there are these bad omens being seen everywhere. And what are these bad omens? The crows are sitting on the Gopura Kalashas, on the towers. The Garuda is taking a circumambulation in the anti-clockwise manner. In the dawn and dusk, there are these foxes and dogs which are howling at the top of their, they are crying foul, they are howling at the top of their voices. And the ritualistic fire is getting smokier. And the Havir Bhagam, which is kept to be offered as oblations to the fire, there are these ants and other insects which are coming and feeding on the Havir Bhagam. And suddenly in the middle of a night, all these fire sticks are falling from the sky. These are all bad omens that indicate a Rajahani. A Rajahani is all imminent for you, and people are noticing it. The Rakshasas, the Rakshasis, the dwellers, the citizens of Lanka are noticing it, and they are taking cognizance of the fact that you are not doing something right. They just are not saying it. They are not daring to say this over to you. On the other hand, you are just keeping yourself surrendered to the coterie of people who want to pander, who want to make you happy, who want to just please you. But I am your brother. I seek your well-being, and I am really serious about it. I think you need to definitely surrender back Sita. Now Ravana understands where he is coming from. Of course, he was expecting. He just sort of stares back at Vibhishana and he says, nobody can ever defeat me. I don't have fear for anybody. And Sita is not going anywhere. Saying so, he just walks out of the private chamber as well. And he then convenes the next court. The next session is not a high power council meeting. It is a proper court meeting, it is a proper darbar where he has convened all the commanders. It's a much bigger assembly. It's almost like a joint parliamentary session. Only that in a parliamentary session, joint parliamentary session, you have an upper house, lower house, you have an opposition, you have a treasury bench. Here nothing. You just have a set of people who want to play the yes man for Ravana. But a huge court has now assembled the next day. Every other Rakshasa from his particular bhavana, his particular war practice fields and what, everybody have been summoned. And Prahasta and Shuka are the Rakshasas who are personally given the responsibility to bring all those Rakshasas. They are all there. Vibhishana is also there. Vibhishana has made his way. He comes out of his bhavana to make it to this particular court. And he comes out of his house to go to this court without a knowledge that this is going to be his Vijaya Yatra, meaning he is never going to go back to the bhavana again. He makes his way, and the court has again assembled. And Ravana starts making his remarks again here, that it's been close to about 10 months that I have brought Sita here. Each time I go to her, I am consumed by the love that I have for her. I want to at least talk to her. I want to convince her. I want to bring her to my side. But she, on the other hand, is just not even turning a single. She is not even giving me a glance. She just wants to get back to Rama. She is pleading me to get her back to Rama. The only way I think this has to be made possible is by ridding Sita of Rama altogether. So my requirement over here is Sita stays where she is, and the two princes, Rama and Lakshmana, are to be killed. They are to be eliminated once or ever. Now tell me what we have to do. Now what sort of a question is this? You already made your decisions. You're just giving an assignment, you're asking people to execute it. Then what is this meeting for after all? In the previous council meeting, all these Rakshasas, they were making their own, that I will kill him, I will give, I will slay Hanuman, I will bring down Sugriva, I will kill Rama and Lakshmana. Now here there is a pin drop silence. Why? Because there is one other Rakshasa who is also present there in the meeting, Kumbhakarna. This is a day where he has woken up out of his 6-month slumber. He is there, and these people, they just want to keep their mouth shut because they don't want to say anything without understanding, without knowing what Kumbhakarna's point of view here is. When he says that, Kumbhakarna, when he hears these things, he gives a big sigh of. He looks at Ravana and says, "What the hell is wrong with you? What is really wrong with you? What has happened to you that you have started behaving like a coward? Who really gave you this advice? I mean, now you are convening this meeting to ask us what to do and all that. Before you abducted Sita, you never bothered to ask anyone of us. I mean, I'm really surprised that you are still alive. I'm still surprised that Rama has not killed you yet. Somewhere I feel happy that that has not happened. This is not the way at all. I mean, you just acted on your impulse. You have not taken good advice at all." When Vibhishana hears this from Kumbhakarna, somewhere he really breathes a sigh of relief to say, okay, there is somebody who is here to actually talk sense. But immediately Kumbhakarna also says that, okay, what has happened has happened. Now I will go to any extreme to stand by your side and protect you. Now don't worry, go back, sport, have your drinks, have your happiness, do whatever that you want. I will take the war head on myself, be it with Yama, be it with Agni, be it with anybody. Leave it up to me. Vibhishana feels totally betrayed here. He says, there is nothing possibly here. And that is where Vibhishana finds it very, before Vibhishana does an interjection, there is one other counseling from Mahaparshva. He says that Ravana Maharaja, just force yourself on Sita. Why do you have to really wait for convincing her and all? Just make her surrender to your needs and everything. To which Ravana says, no, that is not possible because that happened once earlier. There was a Devatastari by name Kunchika Sthala. I was totally smitten by her beauty and I forced her to surrender to my passion. and she then complained it to Brahma, and I have a curse from Brahma that if I ever were to repeat this, then I will die immediately. And that curse still has put a leash on me, but I am the strongest. Nobody can possibly defeat me, and Rama doesn't know this. I am faster than wind. I can move like a wind. I am as speedy as a sea. I am as mighty as an ocean. He doesn't know that. He just wants to fight with me. He's just a loser. He's going to lose me. He's just getting into that same cycle of. Then that is where Vibhishana stands up and says, Rama is an ocean that none of us can possibly fathom the depths of. We cannot cross. And Rama is all mightier than anybody that you can possibly think of, because he has dharma to his side. Sita, you say that Sita is so beautiful, you want to keep Sita. A snake looks to be beautiful. You look at a snake, you get smitten by its own beauty. Are you going to then bring a snake to your bed? Sita, understand that Sita is just like a poisonous, venomous snake. The more that you keep her to your side with all these ill intentions, you're going to be bitten by the same venom. You're going to be killed by the same venom. The earlier that you surrender Sita, he repeats the same that he had said earlier. Give Sita back to her, else be sure of your own death. Now this is where Prahasta stands up and says, Vibhishana, what is all this? What sort of a nonsense are you spewing here? You are acting scared, and somewhere you're also trying to scare. This is about all these warfare and those things that we are talking about. You're not getting late for your satsang. You're more of a type, right? So you should be doing that. So don't worry. No danger will ever occur to Ravana. Even ever to happen, definitely that danger will. You can be sort of, you can breathe free, you can sort of rest assured. He says in a very sarcastic or a very dismissive mode. When Vibhishana listens to that, he gets very angry. And he says, really, Prahasta, really? You think you are as strong? You think you can really take Rama? You know that, you think that you have understood the strengths of Rama. Know that Rama cannot be killed by you, he cannot be killed by me or any Rakshasas for that matter. He is an ocean that none of us can possibly sail. He tries to repeat the same sense of the Rama Paratva, which is, here is where he then says that I truly wish for the well-being of Ravana. He says that I want not just Ravana, I want the entire Rakshasa clan to prosper. We have to survive, only then we can prosper, and for us to survive, we have to give Sita back. This is where one other kid jumps into the conversation, Indrajit. He looks at Ravana and directly starts talking, look, father, whom all have you invited to this assembly? I thought we are going to be talking war strategies and what to do next types. I mean, even a simple soldier from Lanka knows that we are all too mighty to be even forget defeating. Nobody can even think of waging a war with us. And what is this Vibhishana even talking about? I mean, who even allowed him into this assembly? What is he doing here? When he says this, Vibhishana gets multifold. His anger grows multifold. He looks at Indrajit and says, really, Indrajit, who else do you want to come to this assembly if not for me, man? What do you think of yourself? You're a kid. These are elders. We are talking among ourselves. You are a kid and you are not supposed to sit here at all. Once we have decided what to do next, I will put across a word for you with a clearly allocated assignment, and then you can come and do what you have to do. Until then, just keep your mouth shut and make your way out of this. Get out of this particular court. This is not for kids like you to really talk about. You're a child, you're childish, you're behaving in a childish way, you're wicked, you're a fool. If you look at this particular sloka in Ramayana, it almost looks like that Sahasranama. He says, I don't want to read it out. I don't want to, this is not to be discussed. He literally has, you're wicked, you're a murkha, you're a mudha. Mudha is a fool, murkha is a wicked fool. He has all these compliments for Vibhishana, to Indrajit, and says, just stay outside and wait for us elders to talk. he has taken the liberty to scold Indrajit. Indrajit is his nephew. It happens in a joint family. It happens in a Vibhakta Kudumba. Uncles, they take the liberty to tell off their nephews and nieces. It happens. He has taken the liberty to do this, but you should look at the anger, the way Ravana gets infuriated. He looks at Vibhishana, how dare, not a word more. Not a word more. Whom do you think you are? If somebody has to quit this court, it is you. It is you. You had been a burden to me. You have never accomplished a single thing. You have never been a part of any of my military glories. You were never a part of any of my campaigns. You have never brought anything to the table. You just have been feeding on all my successes. And you're asking my son to move out of this court? Just shut your mouth, and you are the one to get out. And I can sort of understand why you're trying to behave this way, this strange way, because Ravana says all these things. He says, one of the lakshanas for the relative is to feel jealous for all the riches that one has. That's how they are yati log, which is the relatives. They are all there only to feel jealous for the riches that somebody has. And you have never been a part of, you have never acquired any richness yourself, and therefore it is quite natural. Yati log are there to feel jealous. Looks like he has never heard the story of Bharata, who was forced by Rama to take over the kingdom, and still he never did. He says, Vidyate strishu chapalyam. The strees, the ladies are always chapalya buddhis, which is they are always greedy. Maybe he, despite seeing Sita for 10 full months, he has never understood womanhood. Vidyate yatito bhayam, meaning these relatives are always there only to cause threats. He has never heard of Bharata apparently. And the moment, and Tulsi Ramayana goes further to say that Ravana humiliates Vibhishana by lifting his left foot, and he gives a kick. He kicks Vibhishana out of his throne. That is where Vibhishana lifts up his mace and goes up in the air along with other 4 Rakshasas. And he says, Yityuktaha parusham vakyam nayavadi Vibhishana utpapata gadapanihi chaturbihi sahrakshasaihi. He goes up to the air with other 4 Rakshasas and he says, Antariksha gata sriman bhrataram rakshasadhipam. Valmiki is describing that particular scene. He goes up in there along with his gada, ready to quit Lanka once for all. He says, Hey Ravana, I have been looking at you as a father figure. You still are. I want your protection. I want you to live happily, but you never want to listen to me at all. So, stay happy. Live happy. Just without me. Swastitestu gamishyami sukhi bhava maya vina. Sukhi bhava. Be happy maya vina, without me. Maya vina meaning without me. Ma also means Lakshmi. So, Ma Nishada Pratishthanto Magama Shakva Samaha, which we discussed in the first class. Ma has a second meaning, which is a Lakshmi. For you, giving up Lakshmi, that is Sita, will bring riches. So, may you live happy without that Lakshmi. May you live happy without me. This is what he says, and off he takes to go to. And here, Utpapada Gadapanihi. So he picks up his Gada Yudham and he says, because Ravana has said that if you really think Rama is where all the dharma is and everything, just why don't you go join his camp? What are you doing here is what he said. And he's just getting ready to go back to Rama. And here Sri Anna, he explains what is this Gadapani doing? Why is he picking up a Gada? Because if you have to go somebody for a Sharanagati, then you have to carry flowers and patram, pushpam, all these sweet, pleasantry things. But he's carrying a Gada. Why? Because he is not going to meet a Bhagavatar or something. He is going to meet Rama, and he is a Kshatriya himself. He is going to go say that after I do the Sharanagati, after you accept me, I am not going to just sit back simply. I am going to fight for you. And this is the weapon for that. Utpapada Gadapanihi. And When a Brahmin has to promise on something, he catches hold of his Yajñopavita or he catches hold of his books. If a Kshatriya has to promise on something, because having gone there, if somebody is going to question the veracity of his, the honesty or the earnesty with which he is there, if he has to promise on something, he will hold up his weapon to say that I promise on my weapon that I am here with all honesty, with all earnesty. Utpapada. And one other thing here is, when Rama took the incarnation, when Bhagavan Vishnu, he took the incarnation of Rama, all the Panchayudhas, all the Ayudhas also took an incarnation, like Adishesha took the incarnation of Lakshmana, the Shankha took the incarnation of Bharata, the Chakra took the incarnation of Shatrughna, and the Sharanga, which is the bow, it took the incarnation of Kodanda, and his knife also took the incarnation of the knife that Rama has on his hip. What happened to the fifth Ayudha, which is the Gadha? That has gone missing. Now, here, Vibhishana is trying to show that particular Ayudha to say that you have missed this part, so I have brought it over here. Anna's explanation. These are all Anna's explanation. So finally he says, I am leaving, brother. You be happy without me. And here, one other thing that Valmiki talks about Vibhishana is Antariksha Gata Shriman. Shriman, meaning somebody who's rich. How can Vibhishana be rich? Because he is not, Ravana has not given him a single penny. He's not given him any riches. He's not given him any Sena or anything at all. But still, how is he the Shriman? Here, what Sri Anna says is, he had been in a Dussanga up until now. Once that was gone, once the Dushta Sangam is gone, he by default becomes a Shriman. And when he is up in the sky, Sita is looking at him and she is inquiring Sharma and Trijata, who are her friends in the Shokavana, and asks, who is that? And the Sharma and Trijata are sisters, and Vibhishana, he is their father. Yeah? She says, that is my father Vibhishana, and it looks like he has decided to leave Ravana and he has decided to join Rama. And that is where Sita gives her mercy-filled grace on Vibhishana to say, when the Kakasura did the Sharanagati, I was there to recommend for him. I was there to pacify Rama. Because I am not there with Rama, he should not reject Vibhishana from accepting. So she graces him with her mercy. And that makes him the Shrima. Says Sri Amma. So Vibhishana reaches the other side of the shore with the other four Rakshasas, and he's still up in the air. The Vanara Sena is looking at him and they understand that there is an Asura here. There is an Asura here, and they start pelting the stones. They think that Ravana has started sending his troops to start weakening us. He's already started waged the war. They start pelting the stones. But Vibhishana, he says, I am the brother of Ravana. And Ravana had abducted Sita after killing Jatayu. And he has imprisoned Sita. I tried talking sense to Ravana. I tried convincing him, Ravana, to surrender Sita back. He would never listen at all. So I now seek the refuge of Rama. I want to come fall, make myself submit to Rama. I am Vibhishana. I want to approach Rama. Sarvaloka Sharanyaya Raghavaya Mahatmane Nivedaya Tamam Kshipram Vibhishanam Upasthitam. He makes this appeal. He says, Sarvaloka Sharanyaya Raghavaya Mahatmane. He says, hey Vanaras, you are all Ramadasas. But please don't think that Rama is only for Vanaras. Please don't think that Rama